Hello and welcome to the Podquest of Bread. My name is Henry Conley. Before we get to tonight's topic, I wanted to just talk about a quick format change that I'm going to do with the podcast here. Over the past couple episodes, the episodes have continually gotten longer, and the whole idea of this nightly podcast was to try and keep it short, sweet, and to the point. So in order to do that, we will be working on putting out one long episode per week. It will not be a live stream. It'll be more of a overall coverage of the most pressing current events of that week. Look for that in a few weeks, hopefully. Let's get past the election first. So the election, that leads me right to what I wanted to talk about tonight, which is Army for Trump, which is, not what you would think it is. When you first hear that, you think that maybe it's like members of the United States Army, veterans that retired from the United States Army, that stand for Trump. But as it turns out, that's not at all what this is. And in a typical Trump fashion, it's a complete surprise, something we weren't expecting to see. Army for Trump, if you haven't already seen this, is what Donald Trump is calling the website and the place to sign up to be a poll watcher for the Trump campaign. I'm going to talk about the dangers of calling a group of civilians, a group of people who may or may not receive the best training on what poll watchers can and cannot do. I'm going to go over the dangers of calling them Army for Trump in a minute. But first, I want to talk about what a poll watcher is and what the responsibilities of a poll watcher are. Now, poll watchers' responsibilities, they can vary based upon state, but generally they are someone representative of the party that is going to watch the polling station and watch for irregularities, possible fraudulent voting, things like that. They will not directly intervene with the person voting that they see this happening with, but rather carry it out with the people heading up the polling location. That's what a poll watcher is supposed to do. That's their full job. They are not meant to intervene. But in typical Trump fashion, I have a feeling that we are going to see this get very interesting on November 3rd. So to start off talking about why this is a very dangerous topic and why this is a very dangerous idea to call them this, I'm going to read the words from Donald Trump Jr. in a video put on Facebook and removed by Facebook because of its militant language. Now, Donald Trump Jr. in a recent video said, "We need every able-bodied man, woman to join Army for Trump election security operation at defendyourballot.com. We need you to help us watch them, not just on election day, but also during early voting and at the counting boards. President Trump is going to win. Don't let them steal it." On top of this, the Republican National Committee announced a few months ago that it's going to recruit as many as 50,000 people to serve as poll watchers this year. RNC Chief Counsel Justin Reimer told NPR that their main jobs would be to monitor voting irregularities that may be used as evidence in later voting legal challenges. This is all relating to the RNC and the Trump campaign recognizing they're losing. They're losing bigly, to use one of Trump's words there. A recent poll from today showed a 99% chance that Joe Biden is going to win the Electoral College. 91%, I believe, or sorry, it was 91% that he'll win the Electoral College, 99% that he'll have the highest number of votes, something like that. Now, Donald Trump Jr., he said all able-bodied men and women. That plays into this militant aspect of this. These people are not going to just be watching the polls. These people are going to take the language that is used. We are Army for Trump. We are defending our vote. We are defending Donald Trump. We are defending the commander-in-chief. These are what they're going to have in their head. This militant language used towards them. This idea that they are defenders of Donald Trump's reelection. That is where it gets dangerous. Because the diehards that have stayed with Trump to this point, they're willing to go pretty far. The people who have stayed with Trump to this point have literally nothing left to lose. Donald Trump is their, hate to say it, their Lord and Savior. He is the one that is going to carry them to the new patriotic America, the America they seek to see. And if they have to defend him, and if they have to keep his reelection safe, they will do it at all costs. What does this mean? Donald Trump and his campaign and the RNC, they are all openly calling for literal voter intimidation at the polls. These people who are poll watchers, they are going to be taught the rules. Now, what some of them don't realize or may not even look into are what the actual laws are regarding watching the polls. Are they allowed to keep firearms on them? Are they allowed to open carry or conceal carry? Are they allowed to carry any weapons on them? There are a lot of questions. Can they intervene? Is it a felony if they intervene? There are a lot of things that they could easily step out of line on. These folks are not getting proper training. These people are getting videos from the Trump campaign that is giving them a basic overview of what they're supposed to do. These people are being told by the Trump campaign, you need to do X, Y, Z. But it's being done in such a propagandistic rhetoric. It's being done in such a way that these people are being literally brainwashed that they are the only things that stand between the Democrats rigging the election and Donald Trump getting reelected. So I have a feeling coming out of this, there are, and this will more than likely be when Biden wins, coming out of this, there are going to be a lot of people who signed up for for Trump. A lot of people that went to these polling locations who are going to be facing misdemeanor charges, state felonies, and even federal felonies. People who are going to lose rights because they went there and were blinded by rhetoric and propaganda to defend Trump and to defend his reelection. These people, I hate to be this blunt about it, they are going to see anything that looks out of place, and that's going to be a trigger for them. A machine could, like, for example, here in Pennsylvania, we have Scantron machines. Occasionally that Scantron will run the sheet through. It will reject it, and then you will just run it back through, and it will validate the count. These people will see that rejection, and that will be a trigger for them. There's fraud. They're rigging the election. That will be a very dangerous moment. But the people within the polls aren't the only ones that we need to talk about. It's going to be the people outside of the polling locations. We just saw it down in Virginia, actually. Early voting happening in Virginia. About 400 feet from the polling location was a bunch of Trump supporters who were literally, as people were pulling into the polling location, shouting 4 more years, holding Trump signs. They were literally attempting to sway people's votes vocally from a distance. This is going to happen in every single state. In Philadelphia, we saw people who were not actual poll watchers trying to enter polling locations for early voting. They were turned down. They were kicked out of the polling locations. They were told to stand down and go away. The Trump campaign attempted to sue for it. They have had that overturned. It's been rejected. Their lawsuit is not valid because these people were not poll watchers. We are going to see an unprecedented amount of Trump supporters literally doing everything they can to try and ensure his reelection, to try and persuade you to turn away from voting. Because here's what it comes down to. The Trump campaign needs to keep everyone that's going to vote in person against Donald Trump, they need to keep them away from the polls. They need to do everything they can to keep them from early voting. They need to do everything they can to, at the last minute, attempt to flip someone through fear and intimidation. It's the only way they're getting reelected. And they see it, and they are willing to manipulate the loyal cultists that are still standing by Donald Trump. They are willing to risk their freedom, their rights, and their liberties in order to be reelected. That's why it's called Army for Trump. It's why they're using militant language. When you go to the website, that's why it says enlist instead of volunteer. The language they are using falls in line with this idea that Trump has always had. This military language, this patriotic language. You're enlisting for the Army for Trump. Folks, if you are a Trump supporter and you are about to click one of those buttons that says enlist and you happen to see this video on YouTube, please do not do it. You think you're defending democracy. You think you're defending the literal Constitution. You think you're defending the systems that make this country what it is. You're not. You are participating in a fascist's last-ditch effort to retain power. Don't allow him to cause you to lose your freedom, to lose your rights, and to lose your liberties. You will regret it. Even if he wins re-election, he's not going to do anything for you. He's not going to pardon you. Don't allow him to take more of you than he has already done. And if you are someone going to vote and you see these people and they are trying to intimidate you and they are trying to do anything, go vote. And I don't typically drag viewer comments on during this, but you know what? A Trump supporter has to comment. And you know what? I'm going to roast this guy. Enjoy this one. So, Frederod123 decides to say this. Trump has more enthusiasm now than ever before. You are a fear-mongering. Democrats are communist. Oh, Fred, let me talk to you for a second here. I'm going to have some fun with this one. First, Trump does not have more enthusiasm, you dumbass motherfucker. He is losing in literally every poll there is. Literally every poll there is. Rasmussen has him losing. Get it out of your head. You're a cultist. You're falling for everything he's guiding you to believe. Democrats are not communist. They never have been and never will be. It's the Red Scare tactic. Fred, think before you lose your freedoms, your rights, and your liberties. Anyway, that needed to happen. As I was saying, if you are going to vote against Donald Trump and you are going to vote for democracy and you are going to save this freaking nation from people like Fred, don't be intimidated. Don't be scared away by them. The actual poll workers there, they have immediate contact with the authorities. You will be safe. Go in. Cast your vote. Believe you'll be fine. Stay beautiful, humans.